Hi guys, today's tutorial is how to do the moss stitch. Plus, you'll want to watch to the end because I'm going to show you a really cool hack to make the second row look really clean. But I know everybody's talking about the moss stitch right now, so let me tell you why everybody's talking about it really quick. The moss stitch is not a simple stitch that you can just throw in anywhere like you could a single crochet or double crochet. You actually have to start with a specific number of chains and then create a first row. And then at the second row, that's when the moss stitch really kicks in. So it's really good for things that are larger projects. Best in show is going to be a blanket every time, but it's also great if you want to make a sweater or a dishcloth or something like that that's in a panel or a square. Okay, so let's get started. To create the moss stitch, you have to work with the chain in multiples of 2 and then plus 1. So what that means is create an even amount of stitches and always add 1 to it. So today we're going 16 and then adding 1. Once you have your desired chain length, again, we're starting with 17 chains, you're going to single crochet in the third chain from the hook. So you want to count back from the closest chain to the hook. So 1, 2, and 3. Single crochet into the third chain, and then chain 1, skip 1 chain, single crochet into the next. Repeat this to the last 2 and meet me back here. Now you should have 2 chains left on your chain. You should have chained 1, and this is where you decide, am I going to change colors for my next row or I'm going to stay with the same color? I'm going to show you as if you're going to change colors. So skipping the next chain, go into the last chain, start the single crochet by yarning over and pulling up a loop, and now add on your second color, leaving a nice long tail if you want to have a tassel for a blanket. Yarn over with the new color, straighten your lines, and we'll start row 2. Now that we're ready for row 2, if you're making the temperature blanket, like many of us are doing, this is where row 2 is where it's a complete pattern repeat for the entire length of the blanket. So we're going to chain 2, turn our work, and now we're going to be single crocheting into the chain 1 spaces, not the single crochet stitch at the top. So we're going to single crochet into this chain space, chain 1, and single crochet into the next chain space. This is our single crochet, so we're skipping that and going into the next chain space. Chain 1 and repeat to the end of the row. And once you get to the very end, to the last chain space, that is again where you decide, am I going to change colors or am I going to be using the same color? Now, it's tricky where the last stitch is on this, okay? So chaining 1, it looks like there's no more chain spaces, but this is why we created chain 2. You're literally going to stick your hook, you have to push it into that chain 2 space. That's your turning space, okay? And that'll be your last stitch. Now, you're going to chain 2, and you're going to repeat, and that is what you will do for the entirety of a blanket or any moss stitch project that you use. Now stay tuned for the hack. The hack comes in only at row 2 and only for row 2. So as you can see, I've created my chain and I've worked row 1 up into the last 2 because I'm going to change colors. If you look at this, you can see that you can actually see through the stitches on row 1. If this bothers you, this is where the hack comes in. So I'm going to insert my hook and finish off row 1, adding a new color. So I've chained 1, I'm skipping this stitch, I'm going into the last stitch, starting my single crochet and adding my new color. Okay, now I'm going to chain 2 just like before. Turn my work, but now instead of going into the chain spaces, which are the hole that's up closest to the stitch, I'm going to go right back into the chain where I skipped the stitch, okay? So I'm going to go into this chain and create my single crochet and chain 1, moving over to the next one. You see it's right there below the chain space that we created, going into the actual first chain that we made. Single crochet, chain 1. That's the chain, that's the single crochet. You're skipping that. You're going into the chain space below the actual chain space that you made. I hope that that makes sense. We're going into the first chains that we made, right? See right there. If you have trouble, if you feel like you're just seeing a lot of holes, what you need to remember is the single crochet we created creates a hole down low by the original chain. The chain space that we created by the chaining 1 is up towards the middle. That's where you want to go, below that one, into the original first chain, single crochet, and chain 1. Do this to the end. And this is what it looks like when we use the hack. You can see it looks much cleaner across and the holes are much smaller. Going back to the original way, you can see, hopefully, that there are many more holes in the project and you can see through those holes. Either way is fine. It's just up to you. Now you have 2 ways to work your moss stitch. If you love this video, please like, share, and or subscribe depending on where you're watching this video. As always, love you guys. See you soon.